It's the activated AF1. And let me go ahead and share this real quick to the people in the council. Give me 1 second. Let the council tap in. Peace, power, and soul. Yeah, it's the activated AF1. This live stream is going to be on the Book of Revelations, and what does that really mean? What does the Book of Revelations really mean? See, when you're dealing with the Bible and you're dealing with these code systems, these galactical code systems, right? There's always a code putting process. You're going to have a code there. When you're dealing with the Book of Revelations, it's not a literal book. People that make the book literal, they don't understand the power of the future. So you have to understand the power of the future to make that book a literal book, right? Dealing with the Book of Revelations. Now go back to the Bible, because the Bible is a code book to be dissected. So AF1, well, why is the Bible here? The Bible is here on this planet in this three-dimensional realm to get people to decode it. That's why it's here. And the only way you can decode the Bible is to get activated. That's the only way you can do is to get activated. That's it. Because you can't decode something without activation. It's not going to go the way you think it's going to go, because if you try to decode stuff and you're not activated, what happens? You go back to information, you go back to meta, you go back to the loop process. So the Book of Revelations, right? And one thing about the Bible, man, the Bible, when you break down the word Ba'el, because Bi is two, dealing with two, you're dealing with the Els. Who are the Els? The Elohims. Who are the Elohims? AF1, the fallen angels. That's what Ba'el means. They're the fallen ones, right? Because now everything's getting put on the forefront. So shout out to the council, United Futurtarian Council, and we're just going to keep moving forward and putting this intel out, man, and putting everything on the forefront. That's what we're going to do. We're going to keep everything on the forefront. So when you're going into these old books, when you're dealing with, because you got to always remember, when you're dealing with these old books, right? When they took a lot of the ancient texts from Egypt, they took a lot of the ancient texts from Egypt, and the Sumerians, the Olmecs, the Aztecs, and what happened to them, right? You got Europe, you got the Greeks. They got a hold of them, and what did they do? They put their twist on it. They put their twist on everything that you read in this Bible has a twist to it. It's not the actual text. It's not the actual text, man. They put the twist on it. Just go to the Bible, right, and look at the names that's in the Bible. Look at all the names that's in the Bible. So you mean to tell me, right? I understand metaphors, and I understand it's not about names. Trust me, we understand all that shit. But at the same time, it's like, look at the names. Because when you're dealing with these Greco-Roman priests, they're going to leave a blueprint of being tainted. Because they're not at the top. They was never at the top mentally. They got at the top physically, but they was never at the top mentally. Never at the top mentally. So that's why we're going to keep moving forward and just keep decoding this stuff, man, because we're showing y'all that the intel is real, and this is not being watered down. This is not nothing to just be playing with and just coming to tap over here and think that it's just something like it's a fatter. No, this is real. And then go look at we're just dealing with the Bible in general, right? Because I'm gonna get to the Book of Revelations. But what's the first book? It's Genesis, right? Genesis is a code word for what? Genetics. It's a code word for genetics. So when they said Adam and Eve and they made Adam and Eve dealing with the serpent. And you had the serpent, and then you had all this stuff going on the 66 books of the Bible, right? But if you're dealing with the book of Genesis was showing you it was a genetic book. It was a genetically modified book dealing with genetics. It was genetic code system dealing with the book of Revelation. I mean, not the book of Revelations, the book of Genesis. Because we're gonna hit you with the first, and then we're gonna hit you with the last. All them other books in the middle, they don't mean nothing. They really don't mean nothing, man. It's the same way when you go to school and they tell you, you got to do trigonometry, you got to do algebra, this and that, but everything goes back to one. So why am I doing all this stuff and everything goes back to one? But you know what you really need to do? If you're dealing with like building buildings and architecture, stuff like that, yeah, you might have to know a little bit about trigonometry and algebra and stuff like that, but really you don't. You just have to know the basic angles. If you can figure out the basic angles, then it's easy. It's not hard. But see, when you're dealing with these Greco-Roman priests, they when they were in like Rome, Europe, they always had to make stuff difficult for the regular people on the planet. They had to make it difficult and have people really thinking and have them really just like what they were trying to do. This is what they were trying to do. They was trying to put your mind through a mega overload. All right. So when you go to college and you get your master's degree, this and that, it's like, that's why I was just about to say it, but I ain't saying it on the Cyberverse, man. The books you need to read, we know the books you need to read. And I'm going to break it down to the Futurtarians too, because, we're living in a state right now where, we're dealing really with the children, with the newborns. When they come out, we already know what books to teach them, to let them read and let them really, dissect that stuff, right? Because it's not a lot. This stuff is basic when it comes to just, when you're dealing with information, this is basic. It's basic dealing with information. Look at the way the world is right now, and everybody's talking about information. Information is not basic no more. It's just, you got people on the internet and they're not being a basic information seeker. They want to be I just seen y'all popped up in here. I gotta pay attention now. I gotta pay attention now. So, okay. Yeah, so a basic information seeker. And now that everything's being put on the forefront, just dealing with information and dealing with the Bible. Bible. Baal. What's the L? The Elohims. Who's the Elohims? AF1, the fallen ones. So who made the Bible? AF1. When you go back to Egypt, and you go back to those old texts, the Bible is a regurgitation of the old text. All the Bible is, when you're dealing with the Bible, when you're dealing with the 12 tribes, it's all astrology. That's all it is, man. It's all astrology. Who made the astrology? See, when you're dealing with the other races on the planet, the reason why that when you're dealing with the Egyptians, the Olmecs, the reason why they had to put it in astrology, because they couldn't talk to them and just tell them straight basic information and intel. They had to give them a physical visual sight on how to keep them in order. So that's why the 12 tribes of Israel is all astrology. 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 zodiac signs. And people take the Bible literal, and it's just so funny because it's like, man, especially with the Ethernet's out now, and you still pushing the Bible when it's still is telling y'all that the 12 tribes of Israel is the zodiac signs. Tells you right there, man. This ain't nothing new. That's why it's so funny to us. That's why we go past the Bible and we go past doctrines. So going back to the book of Genesis, the book of genetics, the fallen angels. See, everything's being revealed in the age of Aquarius. Dealing with the fallen angels, the book of Genesis, the book of genetics. That's why in the Nation of Islam, they was talking about Yaqub. Who's Yaqub, everyone? Yaqub was the one that branched off from his council seat, and he went in the caves and he made all the other races. The East Indians, the Caucasians, he went in the cave and made them. Right? And now, the funny thing about Yaqub is he's reincarnated in this day and time. He's reincarnated in this day and time. We know who he is. But that's dealing with the book of Genesis, the book of genetics. Genetically, when people say genetically modified, it's the book of Genesis. Right? Now, when you go to the book of Revelations, like going back to the topic, the book of Revelations will be decoded. It's being decoded right now. Through who? The Futurtarians, because we don't deal with information and with other teachers that's on the planet. We don't deal with that, man. We go straight to the source every time. And then y'all dealing with society in somewhat shape or form. Society and the regulars can also be a jury, because dates don't lie. When we put videos out, we might put videos out. Then you might see a teacher talking about their Ultratarian or a Tartarian or a Jupiterian, right? Wasn't nobody talking about that stuff until the Futurtarians came out. I mean, it just is what it is, man. You can just you can Google and check the dates. So think about this for a minute. Why are so many teachers talking about the Tarians? Because they already know there ain't nothing else on the planet, man. But subconsciously, they're not going to really acknowledge it because they want everybody to think that it's all about self and soul, and it's not. If you want to go deal with self and soul, go over there and deal with self and soul. If you don't want to be a part of the council table seats, go over there and deal with self and soul. And I always make this example. If you want to be spirituality and be about self and, just want to be on that self frequency, that's cool. Whatever floats your boat. But really be about self. Go throw your phone in the river. Go live in Montana somewhere in the woods. Go get you a shotgun, a couple of pistols, and a rifle, and start chopping your wood and go be about self. Since you want to be about self, see, when you talk to people like that, they can't really fathom it. So now they're like, oh, I'm talking about spirituality. I'm talking about self and spiritual. Okay, that's cool, fine, but that shit trickles into the physical. It really does, because if you about self, be about self. Don't rely on Walmart, Target, the mall, the grocery store. If you want to be about self, go grow your own food, throw your phone in the river, and go be about self. We're dealing with the book of Revelations. The book of Revelation is a coded book, and that book's a real coded book. The book of Revelations is so coded. Man, because when it says, in the book of Revelations, when it says the elect will be raised, there wasn't talking in the physical. Because when you're dealing with this three-dimensional realm, it's not a physical aspect. All this stuff is mental. It is mental warfare. When you're dealing with the book of Revelations, they said the elect will be raised. Now go back to the topic. Right? The book of Revelations, decoded, the electros and the electrons. The electros and the electrons go back to when the universe was first formed. When the universe started first forming. What was it? It was dark matter, right? It was gases, and it was matter. It was dark matter, gases, and matter, right? You can go do research on this. You can Google this. So what had to form everything? It was the electrodes and the electrons. Who represent the electrodes? AF1, the zeros. Who represented the electrons? AF1s, the ones. The ones represented the electrons. The zeros represented the electrodes. So everything had to be put in place like that because that's the only thing that's here. Only thing that's here is ones and zeros. That's it. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how much followers you got. Nothing. You still a zero because you ain't over here. You still a zero because you ain't over here, because everything dealing with the age of Aquarius, everything's going to be revealed and put on the forefront. Everything's going to get put on the table, man. Ain't no feeding the dog under the table no more. We back. The council's back, so everything's going to get slapped right on the table. It's time to eat. Dog, you got to take that leg and give it to that dog in front of everybody. You can't throw it under the table no more. You can't just sneak that little bone to the dog no more. Because that's what the book of Revelations meant. It was talking about when it said the elect will be raised. Who was going to get raised? Who was going to get raised? The electrons. Trons, the A, the one. The electros will be falling. They will fall. That's what in the book of Revelations, that's when it said the elect will be raised, because the Bible is a code book. Going back when I broke down spirit, the word spirit. Because you know the Greco, see, this is the thing about spirituality. That's why we don't like spirituality. Because people are so fucking dumb-minded, they don't know that shit came from the Greco-Roman priest. Spirituality came from the Greco-Roman priest, man. You know, when you're dealing with spirit, that's why they put everything that they do when these hierarchy motherfuckers move around, they talk in codes. But see, y'all ain't activated, so y'all can't decode this shit. They talk in fucking codes, right? Spirit. When Jesus was on the cross, what did the Roman soldiers get orders to do to Jesus? He got orders when the earthquake started happening, because all this shit is metaphors. This shit did not happen. Like, when you look at everybody in the Bible, where their tombs at? Where their burial sites? You mean there's not one fucking burial site out of everybody that's in the Bible? There's not one burial site. How ironic is that? That don't even make sense. Anybody with logical sense. That's why when they said Jesus rose on the third day. You know why he rose on the third day? I already know about the astrology stuff about that, man. Y'all can go Google that, man. I'm not even finna go into all that. But you know why he rose on the third day? Is because they knew there wasn't no damn burial site. That's how dumb motherfuckers is, man. There was never a burial site. That's why he said he rose on the third day, because there was no burial site. He did not even exist. It was an illusion. An illusion through what? The metaverse. It's just that the metaverse was on a physical aspect back in that day. Now it's on a digital aspect, going through the digital realm. He never existed. Moses never existed. Jeremiah never existed. Abraham never existed. Isaiah never existed. They never existed, man. Out of everybody in that damn book, in that Bible, man, there's not one fucking burial site. That gotta be embarrassing to people that's representing that. Because y'all gonna be in the physical realm and be in the physical realm and you still representing that shit. They're like, dude, you gotta be a fool. Right? How many zeros is in full? Right? 2 zeros. Put them together. What's that? The meta. Everybody's in the meta loop process, man. You ain't over here, you being metafied. That's a new word right there, metafied. Woo, man, the intel just rolling in, man. Man, we got Google, Siri, and Alexa. They can't even keep up with this shit. Google metafied and see what pops up right now if you listen to this shit. Go Google metafied right now and see what pops up. I bet you that shit say no results. Or they might just take you to the regular meta. It might take you straight to the regular meta. But metafied, man, that shit, man, Google, Siri, and Alexa, they trying to put that shit in the Webster Dictionary right now. And see, this is how we're going to keep rolling. This is how everything going to keep rolling in. It's going to keep rolling in. Everybody in the Bible, man, where's their burial sites at? Not one. Then they're going to say, this is how dumb people are, man. You know, this is how dumb people are in the metaverse, man. They said, y'all can Google this too. They said, oh, my fault. Give me 1 sec. All right, brother. Give me 1 sec, brother. I just saw it. I was in. Are you tapped in? Okay. I got the brothers Arrayas, part of the United Futurtarian Council, tapped in, and we're gonna keep moving forward, and we're gonna keep sending y'all this intel, man. We're just gonna keep gathering, and we're gonna keep growing. So, going back to the Bible, right? Now, that book right now, anything that's on a massive scale has to be questioned. Anything on a massive scale that has to be questioned. Go look at what's going on the internet right now. When somebody gets, we don't care about that shit. Don't get me wrong. When I talk about this shit, we don't care about none of that shit because I was just finna say some shit in there, but we don't care about none of that shit because the shit that we finna be receiving is going to trump all that shit forever, for eternity. The shit that we doing is going to trump that shit forever. That's why we don't give a fuck about none of that shit, man. We looking for the ones, the Avengers, the Galactical Council, all that shit. The Solar Council, like Zarayas be saying. The Solar Council, man. So going back to the Bible and breaking down the Bible, another thing about the Bible is, where's the word Bible at in the Bible? Think about that for a minute. Where is the word Bible at in the Bible? The word Bible's not even in the Bible. That's just like if you have a book and it says, hey, we are such and such. You write the book and you're talking about such and such, but such and such is not in the book. See, because all this is galactical code systems, man, everything in the age of Aquarius is going to be revealed. Everything is. It don't matter what teacher it is on the internet. It don't matter. We breaking everything down, dealing with pastors. What does pastor mean? AF1, I broke this down in multiple videos. Pastors deal with the past or what? Past store. See, these Greco-Roman priests, now that they did all these codes and these words, and now we dissecting them and breaking them down. Past or what? Past or present. Why did they name it past or present, AF1? Because they didn't want you to focus on the future. They want to keep you in the past and they want to keep you in the present. That's what these pastors are here for. And who are pastors, AF1? Fallen angels. They're the fallen angels, man. That's what these pastors is down here, man. These organization leaders, all these people trying to ask you for money, this and that. If your mind's at a pinnacle high state, and you collecting and you working with people that's on your same mind frame, money ain't gonna mean nothing to y'all. Why are you even still talking about that? You still talking about likes, Cash App, Super Chat, this and that. You know why? Because they're all fallen angels. They all fail. They fail and they know that the council was going to get raised back again, and they knew the only way they can get back up. Because when you're dealing with their Akashic records, all that shit is popping back up in their head. When they sleep, when they dream, all that shit's popping back up in their head. Right? Dealing with the book of Revelations, because the book of Revelations is not a literal book. The book of Revelation is a code book just like the Bible. The Bible is a code book. Like if you go to the book of Isaiah, go to the book of Isaiah, read the book of Isaiah. It's similar to the book of Revelations. Right? And when I was on my Christianity, and then I was on my Israelite phase, and I kept moving up, I named my son Isaiah because I felt that book. I felt that book more than the book of Revelations. So I named my son Isaiah. This when I was like 21 years old, when I was reading the Bible, when I was going through religion stage, because there's only 4 stages. You got religion, woke, conscious, activation. Because religion, woke, and conscious is the 3-dimensional realm. Activation is the 4th dimensional realm. So then when you pass up the 4th dimensional realm, what do? If you're worthy to go past the 4th dimensional realm, then it's called a quantum jump. Because you can go to any dimension. You can go to any dimension mentally. Any dimension you can tap into mentally. Because it's a quantum jump. Going back to the topic, the book of Revelations and the Electros and Electrons, because the Electros had to be here too. When you're dealing with this 3-dimensional realm, the Electros, which are the zeros, they had to be here too. And you had the electrons, which what is the A's, the ones, they had to be here too. So everything was made a certain way to get what you see right now in the physical realm. You know, there's only ones and zeros. That's why when you're dealing with the movie The Matrix, that's why they had the ones and zeros. When you Google the quantum realm, it's ones and zeros. That's it. That's all that's down here. That's it. Ain't no in betweens with this shit. People think they got options. No, you either a one or you're a fucking zero. If you're because there's ones down here, they're the fallen ones, right? Like the brother Zarez had broke down, he said, but they're not activated. Resonated to me instantly. I said, yep, you're right, they're not activated. So then you got the activated ones. What are the activated ones, AF1? The ones rising back up. Because they down here, y'all see them every day on the internet. Like going back to the book of Revelations, man, the pastors that's pushing the Bible, pushing the book of Revelation. They talking about the JB, they talking about the CV, they talking about all this shit in the book of Revelations and shit, man. But they don't even know what they're talking about. They just talking because it sounds good. And plus, you know, I ain't even gonna say that on the internet. I said that to Futurtarians. Definitely not saying that on the cyberverse. But that's the whole thing, man. Like we just gonna keep moving forward. We're gonna keep riding. You know what I'm saying? Like the oh, okay. Yeah, the book of Revelations, man. The elect will be raised. Yeah, we'll be raised back up. The electrons. Remember we used to watch that cartoon? What was that? What was it called? Voltron? See, they take all this stuff, man. They just put it in your face. What was that? Voltron, I think it was. And then what happened to Voltron? Voltron hooked up. They all linked up. And what happened? They used to beat everybody. So there was individuals, but as soon as they linked up into that, until Voltron linked up into that one power, then they started just eradicating everybody. That wasn't about shit. You know what I'm saying? That's what the Futurtarians, man. We Voltron. The electrons. The Electros, they had to come here because when you're dealing with this three-dimensional realm, they just had to be here. When you're dealing with the beginning of the universe, when it was formed, it was the electrons and the electrons that started putting the gas, the matter, and the dark matter started to form everything into a solid base. I got the brother Zarez in here from the Council, Peace, Power, and Soul. If you want to tap in, brother, you can go ahead.
Peace, power, soul, and activation. Again, wonderful topic for tonight. Again, check out Brother AF1 on his YouTube channel, Futurtarians Activation channel. So just to further tap in and extend with the whole, as we always say, peace, power, soul, and activation, or peace, power, and soul activation, dealing with the electrons ultimately coming together through solargy and causing that whole, what you said, activational shift here on the planet by way of our soul activation. Because of our soul activation, again, everything that is referenced in Revelations as far as, a whole next people or a whole new people is referencing us. We are those new people, and we are those future beings as the Solar Activated Council, as the Council of Sons moving forward as ones walking for one. So yes, that's why, again, dealing with us and the answering that call, that 911 call, us coming together as ones, or representing the 11, putting a pause on the past and present, ultimately has given us more, what you say, insight as far as our foresight into the upper and outer dimensions. So when it comes to further looking at the book of Revelations, or ultimately everything being revealed as far as what needs to happen, or what's ultimately inevitably going to happen, as far as those, what you say, high vibrational beings coming together in this power state to ultimately shift into a next power state, like we also talked about in our other live on the Next to Radio Show podcast. I've been talking about how our souls are going to keep transforming and transferring by way of, again, the have us being those electrons ultimately shifting and going into a high vibrational state, as far as shifting and pulling in those electrons, photons, protons, black matter, as far as through soul core induction. So that's ultimately what's going to keep taking place, as far as us being the ones, as far as electrons being the A, that's what you say further. I'm going to keep on. I'm going from point A to point A to point A as far as our evolvement, as far as our acceptance alignment and our soul and mental alignment with the source and all other sources, as far as dealing with the whole, again, the energy and power exchange of, again, our soul extraction. So that's what I want to say right there. These powers of activation.
Wonderful breakup by the brothers Reyes. You can check him out on his channel. And the next nuclear. You can catch him on Facebook. You can also catch him on YouTube, Instagram, and also TikTok. So looking for the ones, man, dealing with the book of Revelations, man. The book of Revelations is not a literal book. I always have to stress that because everything in this three-dimensional realm is not physical. It's always been about intel. It's always been about receiving what's next. There is nothing else on the planet. Can't no teacher come over here and argue with us if they want to. That's suicide. So that's why they stray away. They stray away. That's fine. We don't care about these teachers out here on the internet talking about buildings, talking about building their own like business base, and because business, all that shit's not power. Really think about that for a minute. All that shit's not power, because in the long run, the council's always going to run shit. The council's always going to run shit. Like, I always make these examples because there is nothing else. That's why we stress, man, we're looking for the Avengers. We're looking for the ones, man, the Avengers, man, the ones with that high mental capability to tap in to a higher frequency, the one frequency, right? What does the universe have? The universe has a heartbeat. What is the heartbeat? The heartbeat goes boom, 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 boom. You can go to NASA. You can go to all these governments on the planet know about that universal heartbeat. That's what you have to tap into. Has nothing to do with spirituality. Has nothing to do with spirituality. Has nothing to do with everything that you're seeing on the Ethernet that really amounts to nothing. Everything on the internet amounts to nothing unless you overhear. Being cocky, yeah, sometimes we are cocky because we know the power. We know where it's at. Walking through society, dealing with people, and when you're dealing with the 144,000 in the Book of Revelations, where it said the 144,000 will be raised, they will be raised, but we're not the 144,000, right? The 144,000, they will be raised, but when you're dealing with the council, we'll be controlling the 144,000. See, that's power. Because when they're because when you're dealing with the thing about the 144,000, they're still tapped in to a book and a frequency. That's where they fall at. That's where they fail at. They're still tapped into a book. Is it a futuristic book, AF1? Yeah, it's a futuristic book, but they're still tapped into that book frequency. What is a book, AF1? Put the two zeros together. It is meta. It is the meta frequency. People don't even know that they're tapped into that frequency. And I'm so glad Facebook switched that shit to meta, because the Futurtarians altered and made them switch that shit. Why? How did y'all do that? Because we in the future. That's why. And when you're dealing with the Book of Revelations, man, it is not a literal book. The whole Bible is codes. It's a galactical code system. It's all codes. It's all metaphors. Meta. What is meta, AF1? Meta. Fours. Why would that word even come out? Everything is for a reason. It's not random. Everything's for a reason. Metaphors. Metaphor. They keep you.
Then you ask the question. Wait a minute.
Who's that?
Then you ask the question. How come there isn't any other books after Revelations?
Right. There's no books after Revelations is because the reason why there's no books after Revelations is because Revelation is the meta. There's no book when you're dealing with the Book of Revelation. The people that are representing the Revelations if it's the Israelites, if it's Mentellect, you got the Israelites and you got the Mentellect and you got the Christians, and you have a couple of other people that represent the Bible. All these people are representing the 144,000 being raised, right? Because they're still caught in the meta. They're still caught in the loop process, right? Because they're putting their faith in that book. I don't care what they say. They could be like, oh yeah, the book's a future book. It doesn't matter. You're still attached to that book. You're still attached to that book. So what's that make you? It makes you metafied. It makes you metafied because you're attached. That's why me and the Futurtarians, man, we always stress intel, man, because there is nothing else. What is the book of Revelations? That's information. What is information? AF1 forming your it's this informing your mutation. It's the same way when you take that clay, you put it on that wood thing that's spinning, and you make you a vase. That's the same thing as the book of Revelations. It's the same. It's molding you and sculpting you to what it wants you to be. That's what it's doing because it's still a book. Look at all the words with 2 zeros in it. Go look at all the words with 2 zeros in it. See, when you're dealing with these Greco-Roman priests back in the day, they was remind you, there was no internet out. There was no technology. All they had was codes. That's it. Y'all could Google that stuff all day and every day, man. Talking about the code, secret handshake, secret words, this and that. Who gives a fuck about that shit, man? We moving past all that. But I'm just using this as an example. Go back and just look at all the code words. Why do you think all these words got 2 zeros in it? Books. Fool. And you know what's so funny? Like dealing with the hierarchies back in the day, and they might say something to, you might have a golden bean. I'm talking about like way back in the day, like like the 1100s and 1200s. They might have dealing with the hierarchy though. I'm not talking about the regular society. I'm talking about the hierarchies. They might feel like, yeah, I gave you that book yesterday. Did you read it? He'd be like, yeah, I read that book, man. That was a good book. And they just start laughing. They just start laughing at whoever it is. It might be a so-called black person or Arab or something. They start laughing because even back in the day, they knew you was being metafied. They already knew back in the day you was being metafied. That's the whole funny thing about this stuff, man, because you're dealing with the age of Aquarius, man. Everything's going to get put on the table. They was doing this stuff back in the day. It's just that the Ethernet's out now. Now they're just doing it through the digital cyberverse. They're doing the same thing through the digital cyberverse. And as y'all get metafied, man, the Futurtarians is going to keep moving forward. And we're going to keep, hitting y'all with this intel and letting y'all know that, there is nothing else on the planet. Ain't nothing else on the planet, man. Go listen to these teachers. Even if they're talking about the book of Revelations or not. Just go listen to them, man. It's starting to sound like a broke record. A broke record. You might as well go to your grandma's house, pull out that old record and be like, and just start playing that shit, man. Put a scratch in it and just have it just keep skipping. Just put a scratch in it and just have it keep skipping. But then go back to the records. See, when you're dealing with the records, see, I'm finished. Woo, there's too much power in this bitch today, man.
That's also meta too.
Goddamn power in this bitch today, man. Go back to the records. When you play the music from a record, right? How does the record even play? It has to touch the one. Without that one, the record can't fucking play. And what is a record? A goddamn zero. That record means nothing. That record means shit without the one. You can have that record. You can sit there, take the record, look at it, this and that. But in order for that motherfucker to be activated, it has to touch a one. It has to touch the one. Man, I already knew, man. I was talking to the Futurtarians today, man. I said, man, there's too much energy coming down here right now, man. Like, for real, like, I don't even want to be around regulars. I don't even want to be around regular people, man. Regular people, this and that, man, because they mean shit in the future. They really do, man. It's a sad situation just dealing with people's souls, but it's like, man, y'all, these motherfuckers are still talking about the playoffs. Football. Like, I don't care, man. Yeah, man, I think San Francisco gonna do it. I'm like, I don't care what San Francisco does. It is what it is, man, because our minds are past all that shit, man. We don't got time to be dealing with that shit. That's for regulars, man. You want to be a regular? I'm talking to teachers. I'm not even talking to, I'm talking to the teachers out here that are dibbling and dabbling, coming over here, taking our shit, and then trying to mix it in with their information, and then trying to act like they didn't get it from over here. Like, I'm talking about all these teachers, man. I ain't even going to say no names, because in the future, y'all going to all be exposed anyway. Because everybody's going to find out where the intel's coming from. You got the Ultratarians. Now you got the Tartarians, the Jupiterians. Man, dates don't lie. Dates don't lie. So either bow down or don't even take our shit. It's just that simple, man. Bow down or don't even take our shit. Tell them where the source is at. Tell them where you're getting all this intel from. Tell them where you're trying to make. Y'all don't want to do that shit, man. And this is the thing about me, man. When I was at religion stage, woke, I went from religion, woke, conscious, activated. Every time I heard a teacher and he was on the internet, I pushed that teacher. That's why I don't like you teachers on the internet. Because every teacher that I encountered, when I got woke, I pushed them to people. I was like, man, you ain't heard. I'm talking about 10 years ago, 11 years ago. Yeah, you ain't heard Young Pharaoh? No, I ain't heard Young Pharaoh. Like, man, you need to check his videos out, this and that. That's when I was at woke stage and conscious stage. I'm like, oh, you didn't hear this dude? No, man, dude, here, check him out, this and that. But see, they don't push the Futurtarians. You know why? Because they already know where the power's at. So that's why they don't push us. They don't push us because all they're gonna do is. But see, that's the beautiful thing about the galactical code system. Because in due time. Trust me when I'm saying, everybody's going to know where these teachers is stealing the intel from. You want to tap in, Brothers Arrayas?
Yeah. Ultimately, they're not pushing P. Shout out to the rapper Gunner. It's funny because they're not pushing power. They're not pushing power. They rather push, again, limitation, being stagnant, and, not, would you say, ultimately, soul and mind activation. So that's why, again, going beyond the whole book of Revelation. And, again, that's not a literal book that, again, for those ones that are still caught up in the whole religious aspect, yeah, it's not a literal book or, ultimately, what it's meant to, keep you looping going back to, because think about it, even how many times have these motherfuckers read Revelations? How many times have they gone from Revelation to Genesis and back and forth? That shows you the whole loop process. But that shows you that, again, even after Bible thumpers that's well over in like their 50s, 60s, and 70s, most of them still have, they read this book in so many words, but it's like, okay, what's next after that? So that's why, we're talking about pushing things for reaching out to other teachers. For example, today, Futurtarians know who I was talking to earlier, but motherfucker was talking about, within the, next 8 to 10 years, we'll make these crystalline structures and do this to crystals. I'm like, man, no way in hell we're going to wait 10 years to wait to build.
That shit sound like a Harry Potter book.
but it's so funny because it's like, man, like motherfuckers is not taking this shit serious. It's power. His looping ass said, yeah, 8, yeah. I'm like, yeah. Most of the motherfuckers just don't understand that in this day and time, we've come to set things straight, set things forward. So that's why, again, we represent the true electrons, or those ones that are ultimately powering up. We're the unseen, behind the scenes, causing this evolutionary shifts on the planet. That's why we are causing difficulties to turn up on the planet by way of, again, our solar G. And our solar G is again, that whole magnetic, attracting energy that ultimately, people feel, that tingle in their chest. That's because of that magnetic force that we're putting out. Because, again, that shift here on the planet, it has to happen, because that's why, And it has to happen because, it's breaking up all of this dead, stagnant, monotony energy here on the planet. So again, the more that we continuously align ourselves and focus on the future, we're only going to, again, level up and keep powering up as ones walking for ones, or the 11,111 to the 111 power, as far as, again, that continuous transforming and transferring of soul and, again, our minds, or ultimately our souls going into the upper outer dimension. So that's why, again, we're not, pushing, cryptocurrency, or, pushing anything of that meta or this physical world, because it's all about the conversation of the future. We're all about talking about the future, and not talking about things that ultimately serve no purpose, that are not going to be here within the next, several decades moving forward, as far as we begin to shift things here on the planet. So other than that, I want to say, check us out every Wednesday, every Thursday, here on Podbean, as far as the Next Radio Show, and brother, uh, his channel, but the Airphones channel, and Podbean as well, Futurtarians Activation channel. So check him out. Whenever he posts his live or links or whatnot, but we're always here as the council to further move things forward. So peace, power, so activation, whatever they have one.
That was the brothers of Reyes, part of United Futurtarian Council, the council seats. And we just gonna keep moving forward, and we ain't got time to even be playing around no more, man. Like, for real. Like, we don't play around. People, if you come over here and you think that you have the ability to be activated, because when you're dealing with activation, because now, trust me, we hear these teachers, man, it wasn't nobody talking about activation until I started pushing that activation. That is documented facts, because you go to dates. Go to the dates. Dates don't lie. You can't go on your YouTube channel and switch the date. That's locked. That's a galactical code system that's locked. And I love that shit, because we did that. We locked that date system up in there. You know what I mean? And it's a beautiful thing, man, being a Futurtarian. And going back to the topic, man, the book of Revelations being decoded, because everything's going to be decoded, man. Everything is. Dealing with the age of Aquarius, man. People talk about the age of Aquarius, but they're not really tapped in. They're not tapped in. So that, actions speak louder than words. You have to show, like the brothers Zarea said, show and tell. Show intel. Show intel. You can say you activated. You can say you activate this. You can activate your Merkaba. You can activate that. Show us. Because the only way you can show to the world that you're activated is coming with intel. That's the only way. There is no other way. That's why I said, man, ain't nothing else on the planet. You really think about it, man, ain't nothing else on the planet, man. Look at all these teachers that's on the internet going through the meta process, and they don't even know it. They don't even know it. Like, they metafy. Oh, we gotta get the school open. Oh, you come over here, you gotta pay me dues. Yeah, man, buy my t-shirts. Hey, I hope you like and subscribe my channel. They all fallen angels, man. All of them on the internet are fallen angels. They ain't over here, they fallen angels, man. The council's back. The age of Aquarius is here. This shit is a wrap, man. It's like saran paper. You might as well go ahead, just, when you cook that half of your chicken and you want to put the other half back in the freezer and you wrap that up in saran paper and some tin foil. That's what this is. It's a wrap. It's a wrap, man. Going back to the book of Revelations, man. The book of Revelations is a coded book, right? Everything, all these, I just be getting tired, man. Cause I'm like, these motherfuckers just don't get it. All the codes in the galactical system was put here in place before it was made. What is activation? AF1 activation is breaking the code. The firewall. What is the firewall? The firewall through the quantum realm. Because once you break the quantum realm, then you can do a quantum leap to any dimension. Book of Revelations being decoded, breaking it up, chopping it up. The Electros and the Electrons, when they said that the elect will be raised, 144,000, they said the elect will be raised. Add up 144,000. What do you have? You have a 9. What is a 9? The 9 is breaking out the circle and turning into what? A 1. That's why when you have a 9, it's upside down from a 6. But what is that? That's a curved 1. That's you breaking out the circle. Now, when you break off the circle, what are you? You're a 10 because you're still a 1, but you're with zeros. That's why our number is the 11, because we separated from zeros. It's a wrap. It's over. Go back and look at when 9/11 happened. Was a tragic day when that happened. It was a sad day, but the ones fell. The ones fell that day because what was that? That was a sacrifice. I don't care who did it. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter who did it. It happened. So it don't matter who did it. It fucking happened. 9/11. Add that up. What is that? That's the 11. What's 2 plus 9? 11. Our number is the 11. That's why I said, man, ain't nothing else on the planet. It's over. It's a wrap. Peace, power, and soul to the council. If you want to close out, brothers and Reds, go ahead.
Yes, I will say this, moving forward, again, check us out with the Synchronized Intelligence by way of Brother AF1's pod, being a YouTube channel, Futurtarians Activation channel, again, and our other YouTube and, Podbean channel as the Next Weekly Radio Show. For the Next Weekly Radio Show, we go live every Wednesday, every Thursday, and every Saturday at 6:30 p.m. PST, 8:30 p.m. CST, 9:30 p.m. EST. So again, wonderful topic, wonderful breakup by Brother AF1. Again, check him out okay, just let's give an actual, what days do you go live, or will you start going live on this? Because I feel like, people need to know, or we'll ultimately just say periodically, he will go live on his pod being called Futurtarians Activation Channel. But furthermore, going with today's topic, the Book of Revelations and the Electros and Electrons. Ultimately, we are those electrons, ultimately the unseen, behind the scenes, causing what you say this evolutionary jump and shift, this quantum evolution here on this planet or in this dimension. So again, our evolutionary influence is ultimately again, our souls and minds and our evolutionary influence is ultimately rubbing off on the planet. As far as teachers recognize that, again, they're beginning to get burnt out, especially, spitting and talking about the same information. But again, as far as having to, look at the future, as far as what we're doing, again, we're guiding them and ultimately pulling things forward as far as, ourselves, our souls and minds forward into a high dimensional frame of being able to process and further what you say, receive what's next. So with that being said, again, a wonderful live by Brother AF1, peace, power, soul, and activation. And again, either you're one, either you are extendable or expendable. So the ones that are able to extend are the ones working for ones, the 1111, and the ones who are expendable are those zeros. Because again, we are the true 11 in this day and time. So peace, power, soul, and activation.
Peace, power, soul, and activation. Yeah, you're right, Zerez. I gotta get a live like set date. I don't know, man. I'll talk to the council, in the chat, and then we'll figure out. Maybe I'll do Mondays and Thursdays, or Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, or something like that. But we gotta have a set balance. You're right about that. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go vote about that. What days to do that? And we're just gonna keep moving forward. But going back, and then when the brothers of Reyes had broke down electrodes and electrons, man, because the electrons is where it's at. You know what I mean? Because when you're dealing with this three-dimensional realm, you're dealing with what? Ones and zeros, right? The electrodes are the zeros. The electrons, what is a tron? The A. What's the A? The 1. So everything had to be put in place right here. That's why when you're dealing with the movie The Matrix, what did Neo see the agents as? He saw the agents as ones and zeros. When he got activated, he saw the agents as ones and zeros. Because that's all that's on the planet. That's why I said, man, go live your regular life, man. I'm talking to the fallen. I'm talking to the fallen A's. I ain't even talking to regulars, man, because we the top. So why would we talk to regulars when we the top of the whole motherfucking shit? I'm talking to the fallen angels, man. Like, y'all motherfuckers just have to bow the fuck down. And in the future, you will, because the intel's going to make you bow down. Because what we seen in the last week, what me and the Futurtarians seen in the last week, or how people just taking this shit and trying to make it's funny to us because we like, why don't you come over here? You know why? Because they're all stay-at-home husbands and stay-at-home wives, and they fallen angels. Peace, power, and soul. Catch us Wednesday, 8:30 Central Time. Peace, power, and soul.